Good evening, beautiful people.
Or good morning.
Yeah, or good morning. Thank you, Dion, for that. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, welcome to another episode of Mose Knows. That's Dion Parker. I'm Corey Mose. Thank you so much for listening in. If you are listening, might as well, before we get started, like, subscribe, comment, repost, share, all that. Please, 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 like Sabrina Carpenter. So I just hope that you enjoy this content for today, because guess what? We got a lot of great stuff for you. We're going to talk about, of course, Texas, Ohio State, how that game went down, some cool little interaction that me and my sports director Jeff Jones had before the game. But more so, we're going to be previewing the game on Saturday with Texas and San Jose State. Both teams are coming off losses. San Jose State lost to Central Michigan, and we all know what happened to Texas on the big noon kickoff game day week 1 matchup. And so to start things off, though, I will say that atmosphere at Ohio Stadium, it was electric. I really did enjoy it. Shout out to Ohio State for the energy that they brought. The fandom was crazy, but more importantly, very nice people. I will say that I was kind of shocked from the stories I heard about their matchup in the years past. I believe it's back in '05, and the stuff that was said to some of my homies that I've talked to about that night. I was kind of worried walking into the stadium, but the moment we walked in, it was so nice. People were helpful, and they weren't bashing or throwing things or saying things. Now, mind you, I wasn't wearing burnt orange, so maybe that played a factor. But yeah, I did think Ohio Stadium was a pretty cool place. Now, was it loud? Yes. Was it louder than Texas A&M? Nah, I don't think so. Um,
Interesting.
I would
Interesting.
say, yeah, Texas A&M, bro. It's top tier for me. Like that was probably the loudest stadium I ever heard was the Kyle Field. So got to show the 12th man some respect.
Okay.
Um, yeah, Texas A&M is one of them ones. Cotton Bowl gets loud, but the thing about the Cotton Bowl is that it's split. So
It's
it's
not
like, yeah,
it's
I
not the
guess
full force. Yeah.
exactly, bro. Exactly. I'm trying to think of another state. I would say DKR, Texas Stadium, against Alabama 3 years ago. That was pretty loud. Like when Bryce Young is driving down the field and needing to get this score, it got really loud that game for DKR. Now I wasn't able to travel to Tuscaloosa, so don't know how loud that was. All the guys say, all the players, they
Hmm.
all say the Big House last year was louder than Ohio State, and so I could see that though. Like I feel like Michigan fans are just crazy, so they all said that Michigan was a lot louder than not a lot louder. I'm not gonna put words in their mouth. They said Michigan was louder than Ohio State was, but it was still loud. Like I mean, I'm not gonna discredit the Buckeyes. It was definitely loud as crap. They were petty though, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. At
How,
at the end
how
of the
how
game,
petty we talking? What
at the
level
end
of
of,
petty?
nothing crazy, but like at the end of the game, the scores. I mean, it's done, right? They're taking knees to run out the clock, and the stadium starts playing Texas from Big Extra Play. I'm from Texas. We should know this one.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Oh man, crazy
It's
time to
like,
play that.
wow. It's like, yo, now y'all gonna play this song when the clock is running out? That's kind of funny. Y'all just had that queued up, huh? That's wild.
Shout out to whoever the music director on that.
No, facts.
That's great timing.
He's like, I got
You
the
know.
perfect song for this situation.
Great way to end this game. Wow.
Yeah, it's one of
Okay.
those. I was like, okay, respect. Like, I see it. I see the pettiness. Like, I respect, bro. So, but yeah, it was real cool. Definitely a low scoring game like we expected. Arch didn't play well. We already know that. But one thing I did want to get off, like, and Dion and I were kind of talking about this before everything got going, before we press record. But like the hate that Arch was getting, valid, Dion? Do you think it's valid?
Valid, no. It's I don't think it's his fault for the expectations. I mean, from everything I've heard, I mean, a lot of Texas people, Texas players, their answers are pretty like this. Not really too high, not really too low, not overconfident, not too humble, if that's the correct word. So yeah, he hasn't really said anything where it's like, oh, besides what I guess the what was it, the target on he got the red dot on people or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Other than that, I mean, pretty much he's a pretty neutral guy. You know, for the I want to say for the latter of 2 years though, all the talking heads have hyped him up to be this. I mean, next coming of the greatest quarterback ever. So I
Yeah.
think for them, they're kind of disappointed. And, I saw Ryan Clark say something about him, like he's not a generational talent and da da
Bro,
da
that was
da.
crazy. Yeah, not a transcending talent.
Yeah, I'm just like, bro, the guy's played in 3 games. That's my whole take on it. Like, yo,
Yeah.
y'all put all your eggs in this basket, and the guy hasn't played enough games for you to even. Because I even thought the Heisman thing was kind of crazy.
Yeah, me too.
Heisman favorite was kind of crazy.
Heisman favorite.
But yeah, I don't think it's his fault. I'm always gonna laugh at the memes. I mean, that's always gonna be funny. But for him to get the hate that he's gotten over the last couple of days, nah, it's not on him. But what you think?
Yeah, the Ryan Clark thing was crazy to me because, if you haven't seen a clip, Ryan Clark talked about Arch not being a quote unquote transcendent talent because of other examples that he brought up. So one example that he brought up was the fact that somebody came in, Caleb Williams. So he brought up Caleb Williams, right? He said Spencer Rattler is a NFL quarterback, and now he's going to start for the New Orleans Saints. Caleb's freshman year, he was able to come into Oklahoma, take Spencer's job. Mind you, he took his job during the Cotton Bowl. They were playing Texas. What was happening was Spencer was already playing bad. He was playing bad during the Cotton Bowl, so they put Caleb in, and Caleb balled out, and then from there it was Caleb's job. Then Spencer transfers to South Carolina. And so he was saying examples like that. He brought up Tua, about how Tua came in and took Jalen Hurts' job. And so some of these guys with these like transcendent talents, they take the job away from who's ever in front of them. And his argument was that Arch never took the job away from Quinn. And mind you, Quinn's a 7th-round pick. We're talking about Tua, right? Tua took a job from Jalen Hurts, who was a second-round pick. Go back to Caleb. Caleb took the job from Spencer Rattler, who I believe was a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick. And so, like, his argument is that Arch couldn't even take the job from a 7th-round pick. So what does that say about Arch? Which, I hate that argument.
Yeah,
I really do.
I don't agree with that.
There's a lot of factors that go into that in the sense of, one, from a Sark's perspective, you can't just bench Quinn and start Arch just because of all the future recruits that you have. I think a lot of people miss that narrative. A lot of people bring up how Arch didn't take the job from Quinn, but they don't understand the scope of what's going on at Texas because they never stepped foot in Austin. And so, you have all these 5-star quarterbacks that are about to step foot on the 40, and they're watching how Sark is handling the situation with Arch and Quinn. And to be honest, I thought he handled it perfectly. You don't let any of the noise get inside the building. You don't even let a hint of Arch could be the starter get even remotely talked about. Quinn gets hurt. The moment he gets hurt, Sark confirms this is still Quinn's team. So when Quinn gets healthy, he'll be right back as a starter, no matter what Arch does. And so that was just, to me, the perfect thing to do, because now those 5-star recruits trust that when I get my shot, he's not just going to pull me when I have a bad game. And so I think that was the biggest thing. And also, to dispute Ryan Clark's thing, everybody's quarterback journey is itself. Like, so you're telling me that because Joe Burrow had to transfer, he didn't take somebody's spot. He had to leave Ohio State to go to LSU for a shot. So is he not a transcendent talent because he didn't take the job away from somebody at Ohio State? No, we all know Joe Burrow is that guy. So it's all about the path that you choose. Let's bring up Cam Newton, transcendent talent, right? He had to go to Blinn. And before Blinn, he was at Florida. If he was really like that, he would have took the job away from Tim Tebow. But he didn't. And so he had to transfer to go to Blinn and then eventually end up at Auburn, and we got to see his greatness. And so everyone's journey is different. And I just don't like the way that after one true road start against the defending national champions,
one game,
everybody is just like, yeah, he's a bust. Yeah, he's not what we thought he was. I mean, I just think that's crazy. And what's funny to me is you talk about the Heisman poll, right? How he was a Heisman favorite. Right below him on the Heisman list was Cade Klubnik, the quarterback from Clemson, Austin native, who, by the way, threw the ball 19 of 38, 230 yards, and an interception. He didn't even score a touchdown. 50% completion percentage. And so he had a bad game against LSU. But no one's talking about Cade. No one's bringing up Cade. I get it. He's not demanding per se, but we're talking about the number 2 guy in the Heisman preseason poll, and no one's really discussing his performance because they're all just meat riding Arch. So yeah, I just think it's funny. Sorry I had to go on that little rant just now, but it's just funny to me how there's double standards, and I get it. His last name is Manning. I get it. But at the end of the day, he's still 21 years old, and it is his first true road start against the defending national champions, led by a guy who is a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. Like, what are we talking about? So we'll see. These next couple weeks, I will say this: he better throw that ball. I mean, he better show Texas fans something, because the chirps will get louder if he doesn't go out there and maybe throw it for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, to me, that's the bar these next couple of weeks. It's like over 200 yards passing, looks confident, somewhat accurate. He's not gonna be accurate every throw, but he has to be a lot more accurate than he was on Saturday. And he has to score a little bit more touchdowns. And just be more efficient in the red zone. That's always the biggest thing with Sark in this offense, is the red zone. So those are 3 things I'm looking forward to these next couple of weeks. Does Arch make this passing game more efficient against lesser competition in Ohio State? So, speaking about that, though, lesser competition, no offense, but that's San Jose State coming up on Saturday. that's San Jose State coming up on Saturday. And to discuss that, though, we brought in a guest. Of course, like I mentioned earlier in our first episode last week, coming back, we're going to go over enemy lines every single week to discuss the matchup that Texas is facing off against. So we're going over to Nick Urias. We're going to speak to him about what the Spartans are talking about over there in San Jose and in the Bay Area as they prepare for the Texas Longhorns. All right, beautiful people. We're now going to go over enemy lines and talk to Nick Urias, my guy, the sports broadcaster and podcaster for the San Jose State University football team, and he's been covering all things for the Spartans. And so, Nick, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, fellas, and let's talk some ball.
Yeah, let's dive right into it. Woo!
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Am I ready to play? I like that. I like that a lot. So, Nick, talk to me about who Texas is about to face. I know San Jose State is coming off a loss as well, just like Texas. So, what kind of went on during y'all's week 1 game, and what do you feel like the team is trying to improve on?
Well, I'll start out with saying this, fellas. I mean, San Jose State preseason-wise had a whole lot of expectations this year. Coming out of the Mountain West Conference, they were picked 3rd in the preseason polls, which, I mean, if you talk to people out of San Jose, that is pretty high. Now, the schedule, like over the long haul, sets up very nicely for them. Outside of this Texas game, it was pretty soft. They faced Stanford, Idaho. They suffered the loss versus Central Michigan, which was very disappointing out here for the folks out here in the Bay. But, overall, the expectations are very high for San Jose State. Don't be shocked. I would say, for the folks out there in Austin, if you look at this team at the end of the year and it's still an 8-9 win group, because this is a team that is going to sling the football. And that's why I personally think that it's going to be a really good test for you guys, because I think your secondary could get tested a little bit. Craig Stutzman, offensive coordinator for San Jose State, he's entering year 2 out there in the Bay Area. He came out and said in the press conference earlier in the week that, get ready, we're going to sling the football. Just because we're playing the Texas Longhorns in a hostile environment that's going to hold 100,000 people, we're not going to abandon our brand of football, and that is a pass-first, spread and shred type offense.
Yeah, when it comes to that type of passing offense, though, it's a lot of communication, right? You got to make audibles, you got to make checks at the line. And so how are they kind of preparing for, like you mentioned, 100,000 plus crowd at DKR Stadium?
100%. They're preparing for everything. I mean, they've been playing the Texas Longhorns fight song, blasting on the speakers at CEFQ Stadium all throughout the week. They've been doing silent counts. Everything else in between, just everything cadence wise, and making sure the offensive line is aligned, and everybody else in between is in sync, because you already know how these hostile environments get, and especially a team that's not accustomed to it. A lot of pre-snap penalties. So that's a point of emphasis heading in. Like, hey, it's already going to be a tall task. We don't want to put ourselves deeper in the watering hole, 1st and 15 or whatever down in distance it may be.
Nick, can you please tell me about? Let me make sure I get his name correct. Danny Scudero.
Yeah, Danny Scudero.
Did I
Yep.
say it correctly? Okay. Please tell me about it. I'm seeing that he had 189 yards. Please, is this somebody that Texas should be afraid of this coming week?
100%. He's your guy to circle on the San Jose State offense. He's a San Jose native. So he went to Archbishop Mitty High School, which is a big time, high school out here in San Jose that, it's a pipeline for, that kids get Division I offers from. So it's definitely a pipeline out here in San Jose. Initially committed to Sac State. Sac State played San Jose State last year in week 1. He scored a touchdown against San Jose State in that matchup. He's been on the radar of this coaching staff. And then when he hit the portal coming out of Sacramento State, he was a very quick commitment. He committed right after, the Hawaii Bowl last season, which was, pretty quick in the off season. So he's been on the Spartans' radar, vice versa. And this is the home run hitter. He scored a 40 something yard catch and run, 45 yard catch and run for a touchdown last week. He also had a 46-yard bomb just out in man coverage that quarterback Walker Egan and him were to connect on. So this is your guy. I'd expect a whole lot of, yak yardage. This is your threat in that area. And he's a little bit of a smaller type body. You look at the measurables, but man, he is fast. And he is without a doubt probably the quickest receiver on the Spartan squad.
Yeah, you talked about the offense. I want to go on the defensive side of the ball. Jordan Pollard. Talk to me about him. He seems like a dog, and like you mentioned earlier, kind of like a tackling machine, huh?
100%. And this is a highly regarded guy in the Mountain West. Preseason All Mountain West list. He was a first teamer last year, coming off a 96 tackle 2024 season, and he had 15 tackles last week versus Central Michigan. So he's definitely going to be racking up the tackles and the stat sheet in that regard. But just overall, he's a versatile player. He's going to get after you no matter, where you put him, whether it's out in coverage or if he needs to come out and bring extra pressure. He's a threat all over the place. So Jordan Pollard, definitely a guy that you're going to hear whether you're at the game live or you're watching the game back at home. It's going to be a name that's going to be heard a lot.
Okay, Nick. So the books have Texas at a 35-point favorite. What do you think San Jose State can do for that not to happen? Like I honestly, as a fan, I want to see an upset. I think it'll be fun to see. So what do you think they can do? Or what do you think will be some key points that San Jose State can do to, come up with an upset?
100%. Well, I think for San Jose State, they gotta attack early, and I think you're gonna see success early from this team. Just because I think they're gonna start out quick. Quite frankly, San Jose State's been not the greatest rushing offense under head coach Kenny Amantalolo, and just overall, under this offensive scheme and just with this staff as a whole. So I don't think if it hasn't worked throughout an entire 2024, and especially last week for Central Michigan, it was subpar. I don't expect it to happen against this Texas front. So I think, quite frankly, you're going to see San Jose State just come guns blazing out here in the first, I would say, 3 drives. And it wouldn't shock me if San Jose State gets an early touchdown on the board here, kind of sets the tone early. I expect Texas to reciprocate. So I would say, honestly, if San Jose State can get 17 points on the board, which I think is very possible for this team, I think that's a W in that sense. Like, hey, like we came into a hostile environment. We did some things that we liked, especially coming off a Central Michigan game, which, by the way, head coach for San Jose State, Kenny Amantalolo, he's been around the block for so long. He's got the background at Navy. He's been coaching for over 40 years. He said earlier this week that Central Michigan loss was one of the worst losses of his career. So that just speaks volume, I feel like, on just how disappointed he was in the team and, how they're just trying to turn the page and get things going here. So I think San Jose State, if they're going to score, it's going to be early. I would expect Texas to make their respective adjustments. With all that being said, I do think it's a big game for you guys in a sense, right? You guys got to figure some stuff out about your squad as well. And I think you will, just given the way that San Jose State scheme is built.
Yeah, Nick, you're totally right.
Yeah, because Texas got another Quinn Ewers back there, huh? Right, Corey?
Now they got an Arch Manning back there. That's his name.
Oh, okay, my bad. Okay, got you.
But I mean, Nick, you're right though. I mean, Arch has to figure some things out offensively, and so that's going to be a big point of emphasis this game when it's like, yeah, we can run the ball. We know that. They ran it against Ohio State really well, but can Arch get a rhythm? And I think that's going to be what this game is all about: is trying to get him comfortable, especially early. You talked about San Jose State starting fast and starting throwing the ball. I think UT is going to do the same thing. I think they're just going to try to make sure Arch is comfortable. They want to get him easy throws. And I'm interested to see how the Spartans play that defensively, if their secondary can hold up in case Texas can go to like a pass heavy offense early in this game. What do you think about the secondary for the Spartans? Do you think they could maybe contain a pass heavy type of game plan for Texas?
They most certainly could. I think the book is still out on that just because Central Michigan ran the ball 50 times last week, so we really didn't get to see some guys. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know, crazy. You would have thought we were playing Air Force out here last week. So like I said,
that's crazy.
Way to kill the clock.
The book is definitely still out on that group. Because they had two guys last year that were really good, in DJ Harvey and Michael Dansby, and they both transferred out to USC and Arizona respectively. They got some power 4 corners here, but they came in the late spring, and they didn't even really crack the depth chart. I just think that speaks on they're a little bit behind. They're starting a redshirt freshman, Jalen Thomas, at corner. He just made his first collegiate start last week. You really didn't get to see him in pass coverage too much. So obviously a massive test for him. And, they got some youth some experience at the safety positions. They got some upperclassmen there. So I think the secondary is a big fat question mark, just because you got a whole lot of inexperience that really we haven't really seen from, this group. So honestly, your guess is as good as mine on what's going to look like.
Yeah, a lot of not a ton of experience, I should say, for both sides, right? I know the wide receiver group for Texas, there's not a lot of experience there either. And so you're going to have an unexperienced wide receiver group versus unexperienced secondary. So someone has to show up and win that battle. But I know Texas fans want to see Ryan Wingo have a performance like a lot of people expect him to have, like a 150-yard type game, 2 touchdowns type game. Because a lot of people put him in that same conversation with a Jeremiah Smith and a Cam Coleman. But can he be in that conversation just because they're in the same class? He has to perform at that level as well. And like you mentioned earlier, just about the Texas' talent and weapons, you got DeAndre Moore Jr., who only caught 1 ball, I believe, against Ohio State, which is highly unlikely to happen again for the rest of the season. But Parker Livingston had a great game, so we'll see if he can continue to build on top of that foundation from week 1. But one last thing I wanted to ask you, though, Nick, was when you were at the press conference earlier this week, was there a certain theme that the coaches wanted to touch on a lot? Is there something that they mentioned about this matchup that really stuck out to you?
I would just say that because this is such I would say like a tricky game, just for like San Jose State, because it's one of these things, at least, you want to just get out of here alive. You want to get out of here alive. I mean, we already lost a wide receiver last week for Central Michigan. They like the depth at that position, but it's just one of these things, like, you're more than likely going to lose this game. You see the point spread on the board. So it's just one of these things. Can you learn about your team? Can you take this experience from going into to Texas and Austin, Texas, and can you carry it over to when you maybe get into another Mountain West environment? I think that's what they want to get out of it. And I think also they just want to gain some more continuity within this team, even though they do have a lot of returners. I'm looking for like that secondary in particular, get some things, aligned a bit better compared to what they were at Central Michigan last week. And offensively, let's see a little bit more from this offensive line and some wide receivers. But I think that's the number one thing here. San Jose State's got the goal on winning the Mountain West. As poor as last week's performance was, it was just week one. It was a non-conference game, so if SGSU, if you could come out of the injury report clean here out of this game, and be competitive here, for as long as possible. Because San Jose State, I know this is the toughest team that they've been playing, I would say, in over half a decade. Highest ranked team, I think, since they played Alabama 15 years ago when they were number one. San Jose State has actually been able to keep up with some of these SEC teams that they've played over the years. Like they went into Arkansas and won in 2019. They hung with Auburn 3 years ago for 3.5 quarters. So I would say, from your guys' standpoint, this is going to be, I would say, but over the next 3 weeks, I think you guys got like UTEP and Sam Houston State. This is probably, out of these next 3 games, this will probably be your toughest competition. With all that being said, you guys are still a gigantic favorite.
35-point spread. We'll see how that all turned out, though. But like you said, make it out alive. That's the goal for San Jose State. And Nick, I appreciate you for making it out on the Mose Knows podcast and your time with us. And so thank you so much for your insight, bro. It was very insightful.
100%, guys. Appreciate y'all. Let's hope we got ourselves a good game, and we'll be definitely talking down the road.
Nick, shout out your socials. Yeah, I got you,
Yeah,
Corey. Shout out your socials, man. See where people can find you.
Yeah, so you could Twitter is where I'm mostly at. Nick Urias _ pumping out a bunch of San Jose State content on the air on their student radio from time to time for select broadcast. At practices pretty regularly. So if you want to hear some press conference tidbits and stuff like that, I'm also pumping out, just college football content as a whole on my end as well. So big picture, we'll probably be talking Texas and the SEC at some point as we get into that stuff. So as much as I cover San Jose State, we like to take things a little bit big picture as well out here.
Boy, Nick working, Doc. Boy, Nick working. Yeah, I appreciate it though, Nick, man.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate Nick for hopping on. A couple things stood out to me. One, they're pumping in crowd noise at practice. Smart play. Not even crowd noise. What he said, the Texas fight song. That's what you're doing, pumping the Texas fight song. Smart, definitely by that coaching staff. But then also the coach saying this was one of his worst losses ever as a coach. After that loss to Central Michigan. That's interesting because, anytime like a coach feels that way, they feel like they just lost something big. Usually you would hope the team responds in a positive way. So we'll see, man. Nick said they expect the Spartans to come out with a fast start. So how fast we talking? Are they using trick plays early in the game to kind of set the tone? Like, I'm really interested now. He said it may be the fastest offense that Texas faces all year. So a lot of high hopes for the Spartans.
Yeah, same here. I am rooting for the upset. I want to see this Danny Scudero. I want to see him go off and test this Texas secondary. Like you said, there's a lot of moving parts on both ends. So yeah, I'm hoping to see a fun game. I don't want to see a 35-point BTA. I want to see it just surprisingly. Texas is fighting for their life at the end of this game. So that's something I'm rooting for. Hopefully, we probably won't get it, but that's what I'm rooting for in this coming up weekend.
Well, yeah, something that's probably more realistic is Texas winning by 40. So I'm interested to know if they are, let's say they're up by 4 scores or maybe 3. Let's say 3 scores heading into the fourth quarter. Does Arch leave the game? That is a question for me heading into this game. Is like, how long do you want to keep Arch out there? Because you still want to get him comfortable. It's not like Quinn, where you know what Quinn can bring to the table in his last year at Texas, and you want to see Arch a little bit get some starts. There's no one really behind Arch that you really want to see play like that. Maybe a Caldwell that they brought in the transfer portal to be the backup for Arch. Maybe you want to see him get some live snaps. But I think after a game like Ohio State, if I'm Sark, I want Arch to get all the snaps. I want him to get every single rep that he can that's live reps in game. And then if they're up by 3 scores in the fourth, do you take him out in the middle of the fourth? just to, make sure he doesn't get hurt. But I that's something I do want to look out for in the sense of, will Sark take Arch out the game early? And if so, how early are we talking? Why you shake your head?
He got to stay in the game. He got to stay. He needs to. He's a guy that needs to get as many reps as possible. Not saying that he's bad or anything, but I think it would do him justice the more reps he gets, even if it's to a lower tier team like this. So if I'm coach, all 4 quarters, baby, all 4.
I know Arch will want that for sure, though. I know he just has a competitor. Every player wants to play the whole game. But that is something I do want to look out for, because also the balance is like, you don't want him hurt. That's the thing. But I think that goes into play calling. Like, you got to know what plays to call to make sure he doesn't get himself in those situations where he could get hit. And make sure. Also, I feel like if you keep him in, you also got to keep that offensive line in, because you can't keep him in and put in the second team offensive line. So you got to factor that in as well. Like, are you willing to let the whole offensive line play the whole game, or do you want them to kind of sit out? And so what would be the smartest point to take everybody out the game if it is, in fact, like a 3-score lead? So, yeah, there's just a quick thought that came in my mind when Nick was talking that I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit after that interview. But really great interview by Nick. Hope anyone listening was able to kind of learn some things about San Jose State and what to look out for Saturday as the Spartans come into DKR Stadium for their first matchup against Texas since, I believe, 2017. So very interesting to see what plays down on Saturday. And how does Texas respond from their Ohio State loss? We'll figure out within the next 48 hours. But for Dion, I'm Corey Mose. Thank you so much for listening into the Mose Knows podcast. Make sure you follow, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you repost. I don't know any other adjective or verb I need to use, just to know that you need to share this content. It's great stuff, and I just hope that it continues to get pushed into the right airways. And so thank you so much for listening to Mose Knows, and I hope you'll have a sensational Saturday.